Hi there, Mickey Mancus here, and welcome to Out the Back Door. Today I want to show you how to can ham, so join me. I ended up roasting 2 of my large hams, and it was way more than what we could eat, but I had planned on canning it. And as you can see in this picture, they were 2 large hams. And now what I've done is, I actually had a friend come over a little while ago, and we cut both of the hams up. We diced them up into big chunks. And I'm going to can these in pint-sized jars. I'm going to use wide mouth because then it's easier to get the meat in there. But if you only have regular size mouth, that's fine also. What I also did was I saved my bones. I've got them in a baggie right now, and I'm going to make a bone broth out of this. I have a ham hock that's thawed out also, and I'm going to be making soup with that. So later on, I'll show you how to make bone broth if you don't know how. See this beautiful, gelatinous, flavor-filled liquid. This is what cooked off of the hams when I had baked them. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to skim off all the fat off the top. This had been sitting in the refrigerator, so it separated nicely so I can get this off. I'm going to put this into our bucket for bear bait, so my husband can bring that out. But we're going to be using all this beautiful flavor down here that's gelatinous. I'm going to be cooking this on the stove top with approximately, I believe I put in about 5 quarts of water. I don't need this full strength. This is going to be plenty in order to pour over the ham once I get my jars all packed full of the ham. I'll put the juice on top of it, and I'm not going to add any salt because being that the ham is already smoked and everything, it has a slight salty flavor to it. It also has a beautiful sweet flavor to it also, and I don't want to add any extra sodium to it. So let's get started. I'm going to skim this off into a bowl. While I'm doing this, I have my, look how easy that came off. I've got my jars in the oven on 225 warming up. I'm also using Tattler lids again today. If you do not know how to use Tattler lids, or you've never pressure canned before, because we are going to be pressure canning the meat. I'll leave a link above to the video recently that I've posted up, how to use a pressure canner and how to use Tattler lids. Now that I've gotten almost all of the fat skimmed off the top, I'm going to add this to my water that's on the stove top so I can make a beautiful broth to pour over my ham when it's in the jars. I've got gloves on. You don't need to wear gloves. It's just, I prefer wearing gloves when I'm working with meat. That's all. My preference. You don't need to. Especially when it's a more fatty type of a meat like ham, sometimes chicken, that type of thing. It's just easier for me to clean up. I have my 1 pint jars here, and I am going to start filling them up. The pieces of ham that I've cut up are probably a little bit over 1 inch in size. You can do it a little bit smaller. If I see that I'm getting a little bit tight and I could get more meat in, but the pieces are too big, I can cut some down to fit them in. You may be wondering why I'm canning ham, but there's a lot of different ways that I use canned ham. I use it in mac and cheese. I use it in different hot dishes, pasta salads. I also use scalloped potatoes and ham. So this is an easy, convenient way for me to just go into the pantry and grab a jar of ham, all ready to go. We're going to leave a 1 inch headspace in our jars. You want to pack the meat down tight. And I will continue doing this, and when I'm done, I'll show you what I do next. My jars are all filled up and everything. One suggestion for those of you that use Tattler lids, if you're having more failures, especially when you're canning meat, something with a higher fat content, what I found has helped me with failure so I have a better success rate is I actually add an additional 1/4 inch of headspace to whatever it's called for. So example, the ham here is a greasy meat because there is some fat on it, and especially with broth that I'm going to pour into it that I have just made up. I would be leaving like 1 1/4 inch headspace. I'm kind of like in between that and 1 inch, so we're going to see how it goes, but it's just a little tip I wanted to share with you. So I've got my broth is all hot, brought that up to a boil, and now I'm going to fill the jars. I did make quite a bit of broth, and if I have anything left over, what I'm going to do is I'll put my bones in there, my ham hock, to start a soup stock. So it isn't that I'm going to have too much broth. I'm actually going to be using this. Reminder, if you get too much liquid in here and you go over that 1 inch headspace I'm talking about, so you only have like 3/4 or 1/2 inch, just take a spoon and dip some of it out. I was using a new funnel here and didn't realize that it doesn't fit as well as my stainless steel one or even my old enamel one. And I did get some of the broth down the sides here. So I am going to wipe all this up and clean it up before I put my jars into the canner. But like anything else, we're going to debubble and make sure that all those air bubbles are coming up and are being filled up with our liquid. If you need to add more liquid after debubbling, go ahead to bring it up to the proper 1 inch headspace. Okay, the next thing that you want to do, and always remember, is we're going to clean the rims off, but being that I am using, being I'm canning ham and it's got a fat content to it, I'm using white vinegar because that cuts the grease. So I've just got a paper towel here, dab that in there, and I'm going to wipe all the rims very well to ensure that I get a good seal with my lids. I got all of my rims wiped down with the vinegar, and I'm going to place my lids on. If you are interested in learning how to use Tatler lids, the link is above, where I do show you how to use these. I was running low on some of my Tatler lids. I have both the regular and the wide mouth. And I had ordered more wide mouth initially because that's generally the size jar that I was using. And I was having a harder time finding canning jars in the last month or so, and purchased more of them that were regular size mouth. Well, I was using them up, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I'm running low on Tatler lids. So I went to Tatler and placed an order, and pretty soon I got a notification that it was going to be a couple of weeks before I get my lids because so many people were purchasing them. So that's a good thing for them, but I did have an update now from them saying that they are back in full production and they've got them in stock. It's just going to take a little bit because so many people are switching over to the Tatlers. It's nice to be able to reuse over and over. And it seems like a lot of people have been having issues with the regular metal lids. So people are going this route. Alright, as I've said before, the only reason for this band is to hold your lid down, so don't crank it down tight. You need that air to be able to escape when it's processing. Okay, all the rings are on, the bands are on, and I did wipe down my jars so that I didn't have any grease on the outside. And now I'm going to put them into the canner. I'm also going to finish up this batch and fill up the canner. And once I do, I'm going to be processing these, our elevation, 10 pounds of pressure. And for the pints, I'm going to process for 75 minutes. If you're doing quart jars, you want to process for 90 minutes. Okay, I was able to get 12 of the wide mouth pints into the bottom of the canner. I'm going to have to go and get a tray to set on there so I can double layer it, so I can finish doing up the rest of it. The canner will hold up to 28 wide mouth pints. I'm using the All-American 941. So once it's filled, I'll come right back. Okay, just took the jars out of the canner and they're still boiling really good. So I'm gonna let these sit overnight and I will check them in the morning and wash them up really good and get them into the pantry. So I'm glad that you joined me today. Thank you. If you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell and give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'd really like to hear from you. So until next time, I hope you have a great day. God bless.